Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's David Palmer, the Leo King, and I'm here at UAC 2018, the United Astrology Conference, and I got Chetan Parkyn from Human Design for Us All. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you, David. Thank you.
Well, I'm super excited to have you on because human design is something that I think the whole astrological community, and wherever I go to a festival or anything, everybody brings up human design. And I think it's so awesome to have you here to talk about it today.
Well, thank you. It is true. It is a system for these times. And I think a lot of astrologers are getting a lot out of it as well. Like, it gives them a whole new dimension to play with.
It's a whole new dimension, and it's not only just, of course, like an understanding of yourself, but there's a visualization to it all as well, too, which I really like about it. You know, there's a visualization of the human body, which I really like, and the different line points. So why don't you describe for people who might not know too much about human design, kind of the basics of it and where it kind of stems from there?
Okay, I will. Human design was a system that was brought in. I use the word download rather than channeled. It was brought in 1987. It was downloaded to an individual. He was on the island of Ibiza at the time. He had no idea what he was being given. He suffered mightily from the experience, from the 8-day and night download. And he started introducing it to people, and a lot of times he would learn what it was he'd got by interacting with people, by him having them tell back what their experience was from what he told them. The unfortunate thing is he came a little unglued and he destroyed everything that he was given.
No way.
And went off for a year, vanished, and after a year came to his senses. I mean, it was a horrific experience for him. I would not recommend to anyone to be a prophet. You know, not a fun game.
No.
But anyway, he came back and somebody had kept some of the materials that he'd lent to them, and from that he started rebuilding the whole system.
Wow.
It came into my life in 1993. I, curiously enough, had been told about it in 1979.
Really?
I was a mechanical engineer. I was traveling all over the world fixing things, and I came to a point in time, I was in Kenya in Africa, and I just came to the end of my tether. I had no idea what was supposed to happen next. And I had the good fortune to be guided to have a reading from this man in Mumbai, what used to be Bombay. And this man told me all about my life. And he basically, at the end of the reading, he said, I want you to come and work with me because you know how to do this kind of work. And I said, really? Maybe not.
Right.
And he just cracked up laughing. He thought that was very funny because he knew exactly where my life was going to go.
Right.
And what he was saying in the end was, get ready because there's a system going to come into your life. You're going to write books about it. You're going to introduce it to people all over the world. It's going to change their lives forever. Wow. This was 1979. So it just happened. Somebody showed me how to read hands. And I started there. I started reading hands. I started reading tarot cards. I used astrology, the I Ching, tea leaves, coffee grinds, anything I could lay my hands on, exploring all these different ways of reading people, telling people something about themselves. And I found I had a knack for it. And then
Well, you do, because I personally know, because yesterday when we were talking about my human design, you were just hitting it on the head every time. So I love it.
Yeah. Well, there it is. You know, human design, as I say, came into my life in 1993. I was prepared for it. I've worked with nothing ever since. And, you know, that's all I've done is human design. The 3 books are out now that I was told about. Wow. And they're going all over the world. The first book's in 12 languages. I hear it's a bestseller in Russia. And it's just going really beautifully.
Put it this way. I can go anywhere, to any spiritual conference, to any thing ever, and somebody is going to bring up human design always. That is how powerful it is, and how powerful the reach is. When we talk about things like tarot or astrology, human design is, I don't want to say it's on its own, but that's how powerful it is. It really is become its own source of information, of spirituality and awareness and consciousness. So I think it's great when you bring up that it's the, you know, the new part of our new times and the new systems of our new time. So what are the actual fundamental ingredients that make up human design?
Okay. Well, let's just say, in accord with what you've just been saying, everyone's beginning to hear about it. It is the first of the Aquarian systems.
Gotcha.
It is a system for these times.
Gotcha.
And as such, it's a synthesis. So Aquarian times is all about, you know, the technologies these times, they're all synthesis, like a computer is made up of all synthetic pieces that come together to make up the machine itself. So the 4 wisdom traditions: astrology, the chakra system, the I Ching, and the Kabbalah. Right? These are the four wisdom traditions that come together, synthesized together. So human design is not astrology, it's not the I Ching, it's not the Kabbalah, it's not the chakra system, but it's a synthesis, like a cake mix of these different ingredients, along with an understanding of neutrino physics and the human genetic code.
Gotcha.
So a couple of more modern day sciences mixed into this cake mix, put it in the oven, out comes your human design chart. And it goes where nothing else has gone before. It's an objective system. It just tells you this is the deal. This is what you gave yourself. Yeah. So get used to it, enjoy it, relax into it, have an amazing time with it. And everybody's got a different design. No duplicates in existence. So once you understand your design, how it works for you, it puts you in present tense in your own life.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, out of these ingredients, are they all fairly evenly distributed, or is there one that's kind of more of the actual flour that makes the cake, that's the kind of heavy hitter, and then the other ones are kind of more like the egg, or are they all pretty evenly balanced as far as the systems go, or is there one more stronger than the other that's used in the system?
Honestly, one wouldn't work without the other.
Got you.
So they all play a vital part in this, in the cake mix. So one thing that absolutely stands out, though, is with astrology, we do a natal chart for somebody, and from that natal chart we can do transits, progressions, all kinds of different things. In human design, we do a chart for the moment of birth. We also do a chart for a moment about 3 months, exactly 88 degrees of solar arc before the birth.
So you do prenatal, basically.
Prenatal, and there's a couple of things relating to that. One is, this is the moment the neocortex turns on in the fetus.
Got you.
It's also the moment at which the soul has a hook, where the soul can actually relate to what it is that's going to be its vessel for the lifetime.
Wow.
So what happens in that moment, because the fetus is inside the womb, no access outside, what happens in that moment, the coding that is given at that moment, is the whole genetic inheritance.
I agree.
4 generations of input. So parents stuff, yes, of course, there's something we get from our parents. Grandparents, definitely. Great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents. So it goes back 4 generations. So the chances are you may know stories about some of those people, but they're all living in a very different context. Yet they have all implanted something into your genetic makeup. So when I always tease people when I look at that second calculation and say, oh yeah, there's all this stuff, it's in your unconscious basically. And if you want, there's 10 years worth talking to a psychoanalyst to get all this stuff out of you. Or you just click the mouse and here it is.
There you
so
go.
In human design, we've got this information.
Well, and in an age of Aquarius that's beginning, it's going to be a lot more like that. And I think Aquarius is a very powerful sign for self-awareness and putting so many pieces together all at once. And that's what human design really is. It's all right here, it's all here, and it's all combined together to formulate and hit you at once, which is beautiful. Instead of where, in the spiritual field, it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go run this chart, and then I'm gonna go, I'll pull some cards over here. So kind of, you're a little scattered, and then you're trying to put the pieces together yourself sometimes, which of course works, but this is nice because it's like, it is new age, and especially for a lot of people. And I'm an astrologer, so in the astrology community, I would say that, when it comes to the prenatal stuff, it's like some people really don't even get into that much. But I think that is one of the most important things in somebody's chart is when you look at the things that happen to them before birth, like right when they're in the womb. So the fact that you're doing that in this system, to me, is completing what needs to be completed. Because if that's missing, that to me, because I also like to talk about past lives and where your genealogy goes, and the fact that you're bringing that stuff in is amazing to me.
All of these things can be read. And of course, the moment of birth is the most obvious sign we get of anything happening. However, if we could do a calculation from the moment of conception, we would basically know every single feature of the physicality and the likelihood and the profession and all of that, and the gifts, right from the get-go. And instead of a child having to have 200 or 300 tests when it's born to find out what's going on with it, they may need about half a dozen, because we'd already know exactly the strength of each organ as it develops in the fetus. There is actually a time phase from conception all the way through to the moment of birth. So much has to be explored with human design. It's right in its infancy at the moment.
Got you. So that leads to my next question. So not only, of course, does it describe the conscious awareness of the self, but how does it deal with like maybe looking into the future, or how does it deal with also maybe like, let's say you're the health of somebody?
As a non-health professional,
Right, of course, of course.
one can look in a human design chart and tell exactly where this person is likely to get ill,
Got you.
where they need to bolster themselves, the atmospheres, the environments they need to avoid,
Right.
and where they need to be absolutely 100% present. Because, you know, we're living in a world that's getting faster and faster. The
Right,
pressures
right.
are intense.
Of
If you're not
course.
built to handle pressure, you know, your adrenals are going to get in trouble.
Oh yeah,
right
and
off.
then you're gonna have anxiety or panic disorder, or
Yeah.
then that even turns into other mental health issues as well.
Yeah, and apart from that, the biggest cause of death on the planet is heart disease.
Yeah.
In the human design chart, most people do not have access to willpower.
Right.
70% of people by design do not have direct access to willpower. And yet they all go chasing after whatever and end up straining themselves.
Right.
So a lot of education can come out of this, that's for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And as far as like maybe using it as a tool for the future, would you say it's more based upon, with all the information and knowing thyself and knowing where to direct yourself with your own free will, or is there a way in its infancy that you think in the future that maybe human design will start to actually formulate some sort of way of understanding, you know, what's going to come up in your life at certain points in your journey?
Certainly one can do transits.
Yeah.
The app that we've built, it's got transits built into
Really?
it. Yeah. So you can look at any time in present, past or future, you know, what it is that's going on.
Right.
And construe from that. The great thing I see about human design is it's not similar to astrology in the fact that, you know, you would naturally want to look down the road.
Gotcha.
With what human design does is its great strength is it puts you in present tense in your own life.
Gotcha.
It puts you in command of knowing exactly how to interact with anything that comes your way on your own terms, according to your nature.
I
So
love that.
This
I
is
love
an
that.
absolute revolution. You know, instead of kind of looking outside for the feedback, you get the feedback from inside yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you know darn well where you are in any situation. So that's my great thing with human design, is it puts you in present tense.
Right.
And in these times, as the pace seems to get faster, it's really worthwhile being in present tense, because then you're not fazed by whatever it is that comes along. You know immediately that you can deal with it.
Yeah, I love that aspect. Now, when we look at human design, everybody always says they're a generator or a manifesting generator. What those? What would you call those? Is that, what do you call that? Is that
We give it a name. I mean, you
what's
know,
the name for that?
labeling everything is a little unfortunate.
Right,
but,
of
but
course.
there are 5 distinct types in human design.
Okay, so they're types. That's what they are.
That's what we call them. 5.
Okay.
There are 3 of them are energy types, 2 are non-energy types.
Okay.
So the energy types are the generator, the manifester, and the manifesting generator.
Gotcha.
Those make up about 70% of the world's population. We've done this statistically. There were extensive studies done on this.
Right.
And it actually was quite clear there are these 3 distinctive energy types. And then there are 2 what we call non-energy types, who are here much more to guide and interact in that way, projectors and reflectors.
And so those are in the 30 percentile.
20% projectors, 1% reflectors.
Oh, got you.
Yeah, my numbers are actually wrong. It's 80% of these energy types.
Got you.
And 20% projectors and 1% reflectors. So it's like that.
1%.
1%. They're rare people. And if you find a reflector, make sure you make a friend of them. Because what they do
Is
in
there
life...
any famous reflectors that we could look at, maybe?
Yeah. There is Jimmy Carter's wife.
Really?
I forget her first name.
I
She
know
was the
her, yeah.
president's wife for a long while.
First lady. Okay, gotcha.
Amy Carter, is it? Or was that the daughter? Rosalind. That's it.
Rosalind,
Rosalind
okay.
Carter. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, she's a reflector. I'm trying to.
We are going really 1%, aren't we?
Yeah. There's 1 or 2 very famous psychics. Uri Geller, you ever heard of him?
Oh, no.
Ben Spoons and stuff.
Oh,
He's a reflector.
interesting.
Yeah.
So the Matrix stole that from him.
Definitely. So yeah, there really is a 1 percentile, but I would say some of the wisest people I've ever met in my life are reflectors. But also, because they are so open and so empathic, they're also some of the most fraught people as well, because they take on everybody else's
Everything,
stuff.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I also noticed, like In my human design, it says I'm a 5-1. Now these are what are these? These are different lines?
They're what we call profiles.
Profiles,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, there are 12 of these different profiles.
Got you.
You have a 5-1, which basically means you're somebody who's constantly drawing in concepts, ideas. This could be great, this would be something fun, this would be worth going after. The whole trouble for you is, can you ground it and make you something practical out of it?
Got you.
Right? And you back it up. The 1 comes out of the unconscious side, so you're constantly building foundations on what it is that you do.
Gotcha.
And you'll find that it's very, very versatile profile to have. You can move from one project to another, and always kind of 2 or 3 steps out ahead of everybody else.
Interesting.
But the great thing is, can you ground it in practicality?
Right.
I have something called a 2-4 profile. I honestly see it's a profile where I'm here to play.
Yeah.
I cannot afford to take life too seriously.
Well, if people were here at the conference, they would know that if we watch you walk around, you are in play, and you have such a great time sharing human design with people and interacting with people.
Yeah.
And so when you find these profiles, it's still the combination of all that stuff, right, all together. And it's interesting when I look at a human design chart, you see all these lines with numbers on those. What are those exactly?
You know, the way we read those lines, it comes out of the I Ching.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
what can be said about the I Ching, there's a correspondence between the I Ching and our human genetic code. 64 genetic codons, 6 bases in the code.
Oh, interesting.
I Ching, 64 hexagrams, 6 lines. And what human design showed us was portions of the star fields around us can be divided up into 64.
Gotcha.
And it basically, what happens in the star fields relate directly to what happens in our genetic coding. Long story short, but you know, a bit more explanation, and I could show you how that all happens.
Right.
But that is the basis of it. You know, we're living in this universe, we're constantly being bombarded by the energies of the universe. We're living in this neighborhood called our solar system, in which there are certain planets that have certain influences on us.
Right.
And the influence of the star fields plus the planet logs into our genes.
Right.
And that makes our design.
That's
it's a fascinating system.
It is, and it's beautiful to look at because it's so unique. You know, when I looked at mine, I was like, wow. You know, it's like. Then I looked at my wife's, and I'm like, well, totally different. You know.
Totally different, but highly complementary.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how it also can be used not only in relationships to help people really understand. Okay, this is how I am. Now I'm trying to understand how you are. So I can get a better sense of how we're going to work better, which I think in this world today, you know, relationships have been a very difficult place, especially, you know, in this last like 33 some odd years since divorce really started to hit. You know, I think it's things like this, and especially human design, that could really help people and relationships start to understand each other better and understand, instead of, you know, blowing up and saying I'm over this or whatever. It's kind of like, I know, I get it with you, and I get what I'm going through, what my issues are, to help better understand that. Do you guys do on your software, like with human design, relationship compatibility and stuff like that?
Oh, I love to do relationship readings. I mean, if there was any such thing as a perfect relationship, we'd all die of boredom, you know? So it's possible within human design, when we put charts together, we see exactly what the dynamic is for each individual, and then what happens when the two get together.
That's
and
great.
It's always a magical story. I mean, when I'm doing a reading for a partnership, and I know I'm failing in my work if I don't get them cracking up laughing.
That's true.
About things that I see, hey, you know, this happens here and this happens there.
Right.
Yeah. And then the moment they see that these are the sticking points in a relationship, it no longer has to be a sticking point. Already they can say, yes, I see what's going on here, let's get over it.
Right,
you know, let's just be in love and enjoy ourselves with each other. We also work with small businesses.
Gotcha.
You know,
that was going to be one of my questions as well.
Yeah, the boardroom, we get the boardroom together, and instead of them being in competition with each other, we get them to recognize, you know, if I associate with my fellow across the table here in a different way than my normal contentious way, you know, all of a sudden we're going to have a much more successful business.
Right.
And it works beautifully. It is an amazing tool to open up communication. Yeah.
What about the future of human design? Where do you think it's going to go next? What are you evolving with? What's in the laboratory with you right now?
Oh, goodness. You know, the more millennials I can teach about this stuff, the better.
They love it the most. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Every millennial tells me, oh, this is my human design.
Yes.
What do you think about it?
Of course, because they get it.
Yeah.
And you know, I do a lot of work with parents and young children. And if I can tell the parent exactly who's landed in the nest, you know, exactly who it is and how to relate to them, then
that
immediately,
helps a lot.
and if I can go into a school classroom and do the same
And
thing
help the
there,
teacher understand
tell the
what's
teacher,
going on.
every single student has a different way of learning.
Right.
And then they get actually a thing called an education.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of being stuffed with information about rules and everything. Yeah, some people are here to follow rules, some people are here to make rules, some are here to live a life that is completely different and outside of any kind of rule system. So, you know, the world is a very magical place and we all need to be respected for what we've come in with. And that's why I love the millennials, because they're already breaking new territory.
They are.
Yeah.
And speaking of breaking new territory, is human design and the system built for maybe even in the future adding in another divination system to combine with the other ones that you use already?
I have to tell you, I've been working with human design, as I said, I was told about it before it even happened. And I've been working with it now for 25 years.
Right.
And I always felt there was a missing piece.
Well, because I was going to bring up, have you ever heard of the destiny card system?
I'm not going to go there just yet.
Oh, okay.
But the missing piece I felt was, I can tell somebody about their design, I can tell them how it works, I can tell them how to make the best use of it so they will absolutely get on track with what they gave themselves. However, all of us come in with a bunch of baggage. We get given extra baggage as we come in here. We go to school, we get told about all kinds of other baggage, none of which relates to us.
Including we get subliminally stuff in our media and everything that we're taking on a lot all the time.
We've got this stuff that we've got in school, we got the stuff we got from religions, we got the stuff we got from the family story, we got the ancestral stuff, let alone any past life stuff. So the missing piece I always felt was, how do we get rid of this excess baggage?
That's interesting.
So for this last 8 months, I've really been focusing and working closely with people how to get rid of this baggage. And I have to say I'm delighted with the results. Because what happens is when this baggage falls away, people can get so clear in how they live their life.
And just live life more healthy, more positive, and not feel like it's just a constant, spirituality always talks about doing the work, and it's like
makes me sweat hearing you say it.
because it's like life's supposed to be wonderful and great, you know?
It is wonderful
and express it and have a great time, and it doesn't matter where anything's at, whether it's astrology or what cards happen in your life today or whatever.
Exactly.
It's like this moment right now can be joy and be great and be fun. But I think you're right about there is that baggage. And so what have you been, trying to figure out how to...
I figured out. I figured out how to...
You did?
Basically, I go into another dimension and, draw from that dimension, the highest dimension I can possibly reach for us here on this planet, and just relieve people of whatever it is they're carrying there. It's a very simple process, and I have to say I'm just thrilled with the results, because then people can absolutely get in track with their life.
I love it. And the reason why I brought up the Destiny card system is because I feel like human design is just a way more hybrid, better, more intricate system than that one. I've always enjoyed the Destiny card system.
I'm sure it's beautiful. Honestly, I'm not familiar with it.
Oh, it's the one where it just uses the typical 52 card deck and everybody's associated with, the playing cards system. And then there's like a 52-day cycle that you get a new card that picks up and you go through that cycle, and then there's different year cycles, 52-year cycle, and then a different card. And so it's an interesting cycle, but what human design is to me is that just like magnified times 1,000, especially with the personality traits and the understanding and the more uniqueness. Because in that system, it's like, okay, like for my card, I'm a 5 of clubs, but there's a lot of different birthdays with a 5 of clubs, right?
Okay.
So it's like, okay, does that make sense? So it's not that
totally
specific, like human design is, this is me, and this is everything that I am individually, if that makes sense.
Whatever gives you a clear reflection is valuable.
It's true.
So whether it's tarot cards, destiny cards, astrology, I Ching, whatever gets you to have a reflection on the inside is what is valuable.
That's true.
The beautiful thing about human design is it's objective. Now we've got Myers-Briggs, we've got, we've got all these Colbys, we've got all these different systems, fabulous systems. They're all subjective. You tick a box or you kind of evaluate your level on a chart somewhere.
Exactly, that makes sense.
Human design just tells you this is what you gave yourself. Get on with it. Have fun with it. Do extraordinary things with it. Be unique with it. And so that's the whole game I'm involved in, is empowering people to be themselves, and have a great lifetime.
So have you thought about, as a businessman, and taking your human design and actually integrating it with maybe corporations for employees, or integrating it into the schools, like you said? Because I could see it being, like you bring up Myers-Briggs and all that, all these corporations now, that's what they're using, but it's like, exactly, it's subjective. If they want to like come across because, oh, let's say I need to be the big line producer at NBC, of course I'm going to try and be an ENFJ right now, you know, or something like that. Or maybe if it's like, you know, internal operations, of course I'm going to try and be like, oh, I don't want to come across as I'm too overexert. I want them to think I'm this way. You could totally shift it.
Yeah. Well, as you know, with
I don't know, it's a big question.
Our business is basically helping people align spirituality with the earth plane, with their life. You know, that they need to find meaningful work, they need to find meaningful presence here.
Yeah.
And if they are aligned in themselves, whatever it takes to do that, then whatever it is that's going to come through them is going to be creative. However, I read statistics every now and again. I have heard there's maybe 30% of people actually enjoy the work they do in this United States.
I always look at, it's kind of a weird number and it goes into a lot of different places, but it's like 25 to 75 or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Like in a lot, like you see that.
Most people hate the work they do.
Yeah.
They're looking at the clock. They can't wait to get home or watch TV or find some other reality. And the beautiful thing.
Or turn to drugs or alcohol or going to the bar or whatever, you know? Like, because it's like,
And we have to realize the Aquarian age, the rule system's changing.
Everything
in these
is.
Next few years, I mean, we are not going to be able to recognize this time next year exactly what we're doing today now.
Right, it's
so
true.
If you are not in present tense, if you're not equipped to deal with what's coming your way, you know, you can go look in any crystal ball you like, it's not going to help you.
No.
But you know, if you are equipped to know what you're about, what is your way through life, then you will find the right way. And you will have a magical life in these massively transformative times.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, we're moving into this amazing age, 1,000 years of peace and prosperity. There are still a few dinosaurs around the place, you know.
Right. No,
they need to kind of move off stage left, you know, somewhere.
I know, it's
true.
They
need to get off the picture.
And it's funny because it really doesn't even matter by age or anything. It really is kind of soul energy. Like I know some, even though yes, I would say most of the millennials are all into this. You know, I know some millennials who are kind of opposite too, who are very like trying to be 80 years old right now. You know, so it's kind of an interesting thing how each individual soul, no matter what age you are, is unique to itself and has its own vibration.
Exactly.
You know?
No one needs to be dismissed.
Right.
But it's quite clear things have to change massively.
Oh yeah.
And you know, the way I see it, David, we've had our foot in the door, you know, for years. Like, you know, and somebody now is pushing the door open and going through the other side.
It's true.
So I'm happy with the work I've been doing, keeping the door open.
You should be extremely happy and you should be proud of yourself because it is a huge feat to take on, number one. And number two, for it to catch on is the biggest thing in the world, and to have people really benefit from it. And you do that. And it's actually shown because I'll be honest with you, I'm a practicing astrologer with a huge, you know, clientele and audience, and I'm telling you, I hear it probably 80% of the time. Oh, so what do you think about human design? What's your human design? I know that it is spreading more than you know, I bet.
Well, I'm delighted.
I want you to know that.
Well, thank you. I have to say, a lot of people approach me. Oh, you wrote that book? Well, you know, I got a bootleg copy of that book, you know, and that turned me on to human design. Whatever it takes, you know.
Right.
It's such a valuable tool for people. So I'm just thrilled, and thank you for.
I can only imagine how many clicks have been onto your website, though, because I remember I've been on it like many a time too.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to know, you know, especially the basics, you know, the type, like what type am I?
Well, we do a wonderful training. We do a wonderful 6-month training. Not only does everyone get the videos and things that we've recorded, 21 different classes.
Oh, awesome.
Soup to nuts. And they also get me every other week. Online,
Who wouldn't
live.
want that?
They can send in their questions, they can send in charts, you know, they don't understand the chart. I'll tell them.
Right.
And we have a huge learning curve from that.
That's amazing.
And then we do a practitioner training every year, and people come for a week-long or 5-day immersion in human design.
Wow.
All anyone does is talk about human design. We had one gathering recently at a resort. By the end of the thing, half the guests in the resort, not just our students, half the guests had had their charts read by our students.
And they loved it.
Of course they did. They wanted to know more.
So if somebody wanted to be like a practicing human design practitioner with all these courses, is there like an actual software program that they can get and buy and then actually start practicing and doing reports for people and doing readings for people?
Absolutely. On our website, humandesignforusall.com, there's a free software there.
That's awesome.
Anyone can download that free software. We've got an app for an iPhone or an Android.
You do?
ThehumandesignApp.com.
It's right underneath them right here.
Yeah.
We've got it shown right here.
Right? And, anyone can get this app. It's a free app. You can also pay $10 and get all the extra pieces on it, which are great fun pieces. But anyone can get involved here. We've made it available. That's what I was told in 1979. That was my job. Put this out to the world.
And you did, and it's exploding.
It is exploding, yeah.
It's exploding. Yeah. And it will continue to keep exploding. I know that. Especially the first line you brought up is it's these new times, and I truly believe in that. And I love stuff like this, and especially there's nothing like this.
Yeah, it's a really accelerating tool for anybody in their life. Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy to have been here with you today, and thank you for coming on to speak with me. And for everybody out there, of course, follow the website below. And you know what? Look at your human design. Trust me. It blows my mind. It can help you out so much. And thank you again for being on here with me today.
My great pleasure.
Thank you. Take care.